Are you like most sales and other professionals who want to grow their wealth faster than what they are currently doing through their company 401k, even with that company match, the stock market, or just plain saving money? Would you sleep better at night if you had the financial freedom to be job optional in just 3 to 5 years through investing in real assets? Maybe you don't want to stop working, but wouldn't it be cool if you could retire a decade earlier than most and do the traveling you and your family have planned for years while you're still young and can enjoy it? Let's face it, most busy professionals don't have the time or desire to take on more work outside of their W-2 to grow their wealth. On The Wealth Flow, each week we share the stories, the investments, and take a deep dive into the various asset classes that can deliver that accelerated growth to your portfolio passively. That's right, no extra work for you. Instead, we'll put your money to work. Learn what the 95% aren't talking about and join the top 5% of earners today on The Wealth Flow.
All right, welcome to The Wealth Flow. My guest today is Jessie Lang. Jessie is she is a real estate investor who self-manages over 70 long-term rentals around the Columbus, Ohio area. She also teaches others to buy and self-manage their long-term rental portfolio to gain financial freedom. I am looking forward to diving into your story, Jessie. And just that's a huge number of rentals. Love the fact that you're all in on single family and just can't wait to dive into your story.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Glad we were able to finally connect and make this work. I always love to start with kind of your background. You know, what led you to real estate, but where you grew up, and kind of the twists and turns along the way that led you to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. And my story getting into real estate is probably familiar for a lot of people listening, and that it's that I didn't do it intentionally. I became an accidental landlord back in 2012. So I grew up in Austin, Texas. I know close to you in San Antonio.
Yep.
I moved to Columbus in 2017, but prior to that, I had spent my whole life in Austin. And so grew up there. I went to University of Texas, and you graduate college and they say, get a job and buy a house and get married and have kids. And, society says all these things, but I did not do all of them, but I did do some of them. I ended up buying a crappy little condo for $92,000 that had shag carpet. It had the grandma curtains, the yellow countertops, like it had everything. But I wasn't an investor at that point. I was just a homeowner. So we moved in, we made slow improvements over time, and I had the bright idea to rent out some of the rooms. It was a 3-bedroom condo. And so I rented out. I had 2 roommates, and they basically were paying the mortgage, and I was paying the bills. And I thought that I was a genius for figuring this out.
Right.
So a couple years pass by and everything's going well for the most part. It's Craigslist roommates, so you have some weirdos, but for the most part, it worked out. And a couple years pass, and one of the roommates at the time was my partner, and we ended up splitting up. And so I knew that it would be crazy to sell it. It was like Austin 2013, 14. It was, I knew that emotionally I didn't want to live there myself. It was like too many memories. And then I knew that I couldn't just have a mortgage without someone living there. So in the span of 2 weeks, I went from living my everyday life to having 4 college boys renting out my condo. And
Nice.
I always joke that they could have ruined my real estate career before I ever got started, but they were great. They actually were like really good residents. So yeah, that was it. That's how I kind of fell into the first one.
Wow. Okay. So, and do you still have that first one today?
I do not.
Okay.
I have liquidated everything in Austin. The rest of the story is I ended up with 3 more doing the same thing. And so
Okay.
I've liquidated everything. I've moved that money to Ohio.
Okay. Well, Austin has seen obviously some tremendous appreciation, so I'm sure you made out pretty well on those.
It was right place, right time for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so somehow you moved from Austin to, did you move for a job or what was the
I
drive for
did.
Columbus? Okay.
I did, Keith. There's many steps between
Okay.
what got me to Columbus. Okay, so I moved out of my condo very quickly and I had one long-term rental. I actually ended up buying another owner-occupant house. I rented out
Okay.
those rooms. Next year, I did it again and I rented out rooms where I was living. I had two long-term rentals. So this brings me up to 2016. And again, I think I'm like a complete genius. And I didn't even know house hacking was a term. I just knew that I was making money through assets that I owned. So 2016 comes around and I get the wild idea to quit my job, stop everything, and go and travel the world for a year.
Oh,
And so
nice.
I spent all of 2016 living in 12 countries for 1 month each. And it was a fantastic opportunity. I met my wife. I
Yeah.
met the job that brought me to Columbus. So I did move here for a job. And it just changed my outlook. It changed my perspective. And I was able to do all of that on 3 long-term rentals.
That's pretty amazing. Tell me what countries, I know you said it sounds like quite a few. Then you lived there for 1 month stints at a time.
Yep.
But just curious, so like Europe or what part of the world?
We did 4 months in South America, 4 months in Europe, and 4 months in Asia.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where in
so it
South
really was
America?
around the world. South America, we were in Buenos Aires, in
Okay, I love that. Yeah.
Argentina, in
Yep.
Montevideo, Uruguay, which is so random.
Yeah.
We were in Cusco, Peru, and then La Paz, Bolivia.
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Awesome.
Really
Awesome.
random, but it was awesome. It was, I mean, a life-changing year.
For sure. And just the fact that you're able to do that, like you said, I mean, most people would never dream that you'd be able to do that with just 3 rentals.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
Yep. At 3 rentals plus savings, because remember, I didn't have any bills for the past 3 to 4 years before that. Like, all my mortgages were paid. People were paying my bills. I still had a W-2, so I was able to save a good amount. So between savings and rentals, I could go travel for a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So you got a job after that, and moved to Columbus. And obviously you've already have this knowledge that, hey, this is something that can work.
Yeah.
What was your strategy when you moved to Ohio?
Well, my strategy, that's a great question, is that there wasn't really one. I moved here for another W-2. It's like I just spent a whole year traveling on real estate and I still somehow didn't think that real estate could be a career. I didn't believe it for myself. I didn't have
Yeah.
any role models. I had no one in my life that had rental properties or was showing me like entrepreneurship. This could actually be a path. So I went back and I got a job and I was working for someone else again.
Yeah.
But I did have the insight this time. So I made it 18 months at that job. That whole time I was going to my local RIA meetups. I was talking to every single person that would talk to me about real estate. I was doing research. I did some paid real estate education and I was really just educating myself. And so August 2018 came around and I quit my job. I am now unemployable. I'll never work for anyone ever again. That was the last time I ever worked for anyone else. And quit my job and I went to do direct to seller marketing. And I was like, I'm going to be a wholesaler. Because I didn't really have a lot of money. And so I was wholesaling everything for the first 2 entire years. I was selling every single contract that I got in contract. And I look back
Hmm.
now and I'm like, obviously kicking myself. But
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's cool though. I mean, just the fact that you were able to do it as well. I mean, there's a lot of people that go out to try. I mean, wholesaling is a lot of the way that people get into real estate. If they look at, YouTube or whatever, and how do I get into real estate? This is a great way to do it for sure with very little money, but it doesn't always work for everybody. So it was great that it worked for you.
Well, it took me 6 months to make a penny and I
Yeah.
was spending money on marketing, but I was, very hands-on. I was doing my own cold calling. I was driving for dollars. I was doing everything myself, mailing, literally handwriting letters. And so It took a long time to make any money whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what did you make on the first one?
Oh, $5,000. I will never forget. My buyer was Michael Jackson, not the Michael Jackson.
Clearly.
And he actually paid me. This is crazy. He became a mentor after this, but he actually paid me the $5,000 before the closing because he knew it was my first deal, and it felt like all the money in the world.
Yeah. Well, and that's not a bad payday. Obviously, when you try to break it down to when did you start, and look at the number of months that led up to that, but at the end of the day, you made $5,000 on one deal. So there you go.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
so from there, it kind of was off to the races. That established my confidence. I really, up to that point, had made tons of mistakes. So kind of all those learnings compounded, and I figured out what I was doing finally. And I was, very profitable from the very beginning.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so do you continue to do the wholesaling to this day to generate income, and I guess, so looking at, obviously, when you were W-2, you were super fundable, when it comes to banks, but being self-employed and being a wholesaler is a little bit more of a challenge to now buy that first or that second or third or whatever long-term rental. So tell me a little bit about that. How did you accomplish that with a wholesaling career?
Yeah.
Did you have to be doing it for 2 years to get your average? And what did that look like?
So I didn't have to wait 2 years, but I will say I was buying rentals those couple years, but they were none of my own deals. I was buying from the MLS, from other wholesalers. And I did not understand hard or private money. So I was trying to go out and get long-term loans, like exactly what you're talking about. Or I was literally buying them in cash, like cash. Because you have to remember, this is the Midwest. This is 2018, 19. I mean, we could still buy properties for 60, 50K. And so we were buying for like, with actual cash. And then I would go get it refinanced, but using a DSCR loan, they don't necessarily care about your tax return. So I was able to buy, but I didn't really understand hard or private money. And so it was just really slow because I was saving up, either cash or 20% down. But I was fundable. The loan types we were using, it was fine.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. That's a good insight too. And being part of those RIAs and stuff, that allows you the exposure to be able to find out about those types of loans. A lot of times people, I know even, when I started, I had no idea that you could do those other things. And I did the same thing, kind of a really slow start where you're just trying to save and save and save, and wasn't even trying to buy them cash, just saving enough for, down payments. And, it takes a little while. It slows it down a bit. So.
Oh yeah, super slow. I think up until 2021, I had acquired 11 doors, and we own 70 now. Like 4 years
so
later.
Something's grown exponentially.
So that was really what clicked. Was January 2021. I got a mentor, and I was, up to this point, I was doing way too much. I had my real estate license. I was Airbnb-ing. I was wholesaling. I had some rentals, but didn't really figure out how to scale that. And so I got a mentor January 2021, got super clear about the BRRRR method. I got really clear about one strategy. All I was doing was wholesaling and keeping rentals. Oh, prior to that, I was flipping. I was just all over the place. And so he helped me get super clear and helped me figure out how to buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. And being able to do that and pull money out of deals, and that was true 5 years ago. Now we're leaving some money in each deal, but it still is a far better method than turnkey or anything like that. So it was really figuring out two things. One is just do what you're good at. I had one active income and one passive income strategy. Stick to those, and then get really good at BRRRR, and that was off to the races.
Yeah, no, that's great. Want to dig down a little bit on that. So on the original 11 years, or 11 doors rather, tell me a little bit about your method there. Had that changed at all? I mean, were you looking at properties that you could renovate since you've done some flips and stuff, or What were you looking at initially when it came to, hey, this is one that I would consider buying?
So I kind of knew how to underwrite a deal from just wholesaling and understanding what my buyers are looking for. And so I had that, but everything I had bought prior to that was owner occupant. It was,
Mhm.
I was living there, I was doing the work myself. And so the first property that I bought was a 4-unit building. It was from another wholesaler. And they let me do conventional financing on it, even though, because it was just a personal relationship. So it
Mhm.
wasn't hey, I need to close in 7 days kind of thing. So he's like, okay, yeah, you can do conventional if you get me this price. So we bought it and it needed everything. And I had no idea truly how much those renovations would cost. So because we're not using hard money where they're covering your renovation costs,
Mhm.
all that is coming out of my pocket. And so I'm skimping, I'm saving, I'm cutting corners, I'm doing all the wrong renovations. I'm just not making the right choices. And I ended up with an asset that had, maybe not severe, but maintenance whack-a-mole. One day it was something, the next week it was
Mhm.
something else, the next week it was something else. And, I couldn't keep good residents in there. And it was just a freaking absolute headache because I bought it wrong and I didn't do the renovations I was supposed to do up front. I have
Yeah.
since sold that building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. I've done that too. But you do what you can at the time or whatever. But yeah, there's some that it's like, golly, if some I just sold and I was like, I'm selling it just because who knows what's going to happen with this one down the road,
Right. Right.
So,
So that's
well,
like very different than our strategy now, where I'm doing all the right renovations up front. We're doing all the cosmetics, all the mechanicals, anything safety related. All my portfolio is completely standardized. So same flooring, same paint, same,
mhm.
light fixtures. It's all the exact same. And that's why we're able to manage in-house with such a lean team. It's because when I do my renovation, I'm aiming for 10 years of low to no CapEx. So no windows, no roof, no furnace, no AC. We've done all that up front. That's the method now. And it is so much more scalable and sustainable than I call my early mistakes.
Yeah. So what are you looking at now from the age of the home standpoint, and then you mentioned a few things, obviously windows, furnace,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But are these old enough that you're rewiring them? What are the baseline things that you're doing? Replumbing?
Yeah, so it does depend on the property and also depends on the market. So our housing stock here in Columbus and really central Ohio was built in the late 1800s. Some of the
Hmm.
earlier stuff is maybe up to 1920. I try to avoid those areas. We do have some, but I don't like to go behind the drywall. So we're really looking for my market 1940 and later. And that's when they stopped using asbestos, stopped using knob and tube. Um, just the building standards changed. And so we often, most of the time don't have to go behind the walls in those scenarios. And we can do a kitchen and bath, flooring, paint, roof, windows, whatever mechanicals are needed. And that's kind of the standard.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that keeps it, like you said, I mean, if you can go in and do all that stuff up front where you don't know that you don't have any major repairs down the road for the next 10 years, I mean, it sets you up in a good spot to be able to hold on to these.
Yep.
So you're getting a fix and flip type loan to begin with, and then you're refinancing them. Tell me about the loan that you're using on the refinance. I know you said on that 4-unit you did a conventional, but what are you doing now? Or, when did you transition to kind of using whatever product you're using now?
Yeah. So I kind of, you get 10 conventional or Fannie Freddie loans.
Mhm.
I maxed that out a long time ago. And so our go-to is a DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. I have the same lender that I use on the front side to buy, the same lender I use on the back side. I'll shop them every once in a while if I maybe hear of someone else who could have better terms. But like at the volume we're doing, I have my team, I use my team, I know what to expect, I know the numbers, makes underwriting really easy. So I've been using the same DSCR lender for probably the last 40 or so projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said they are actually doing the fix and flip part, and then they just convert it to a long-term 30-year product, or what?
They are actually two separate lenders
Okay.
here
Okay.
in, oh, wow. Here
Yeah.
in Columbus, they actually work really close together. Like a lot of people use them on the same, two companies on the front and then the back refi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. For the audience, explain a DSCR loan, and kind of, what's different about that. And then also, we can start there.
Yeah.
What is
So
a
it stands
DSCR?
for debt service coverage ratio. And essentially, it is designed, it's underwritten based on how much money the property is bringing in. Now, the appraiser will still run comparable sales and make sure that, it's still going to get appraised with comparables, but they also look at the income approach, meaning they will so here's an example with some numbers. The lender that we use, their coverage ratio is 1.1. So basically, if they want to see 1.1% of rent every month in relation to the PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. So if PITI is going to be $1,000 and their ratio is 1.1, they want to see $1,100 a month in rent. So we just, if I can meet that standard, then I'm not going to be kind of throttled or decreased on what I can borrow. I can go up to their standard 75% of the appraised value.
Okay. Okay. And on those, when you're finding them and you're doing the rehab, like you said, it has changed. The market's changed a little bit everywhere, right? So it's a little bit harder to hit some of those metrics, but you're having to leave maybe a little bit of money in the deal. But for a while there, you were able to get almost the entire initial investment back out to be able to move on to the next one.
Yep. Oh, I have some BRRRR deals where we pulled out $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on the refi that I was able to
Nice.
buy at such a discount, do the renovation. And the renovation, it forces the value in a very short amount of time. There's natural appreciation, which is, the increase in value over time. And then there's forced appreciation. So I can force the increase in value through a renovation. And I know what it's going to be worth once it's fixed up because I can see what else was fixed up and what it sold for. And so I know, say, hey, I'm buying this for 50, I'm putting 30 into it, and it's going to be worth 150. I know that sounds crazy, but like we were buying that deal like pretty often.
Yeah.
And so the lender is going to give you 75% of the 150, which I don't actually know the number. 150 times 0.75. So they'll give you 112, but in that scenario, I'm only in the deal between the purchase and the rehab and maybe some holding costs for like $80,000, $90,000. But they'll give you 112. So I'm actually able to pull out money at the time of refi, pay off my hard money lender or my private money lender, pay back the rehab, pay myself back for any holding cost, and have a profit.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's amazing. And it really, to hear that in 21, and correct me if I'm wrong on here, I'm just looking at my notes, but you were at 11 doors and now you're up to 70 something. That's incredible.
And it was a culmination of, my wholesaling marketing, because I've been doing it for years. I didn't get good immediately. And so the marketing got pretty good. I got good in negotiations. And then I figured out how to buy and renovate the right way. And so all the pieces kind of fell together. And that first year, 2021, we bought 22 doors. So I more than doubled 200% my portfolio.
Yeah. That's incredible. And tell me a little bit about the market. So, Columbus, Ohio, when you started, you mentioned that you could get homes back then for 70 something thousand. What are the types of homes that you're buying now from a price point? And about how many square feet? Like, give us a basic is it a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-bath, or it varies depending on the deal?
Yeah, so my buy box is pretty tight. We have mostly 2 and 3 bedrooms. I have 2 4-bedrooms, and they're hard to manage. Honestly, the bigger the house, the more the management. And so I love 2 and 3 bedrooms. I don't like to go over 1,500 square feet. I don't like to go. We have some that are 7, like quite a few that are 600 or 700 square feet, little 2-1s. They're
Yeah.
fantastic rentals. Honestly, like they're so easy to manage. You don't have a ton of people in and out all the time, and there's not a lot to it. So, I'll go as kind of as small as like 700 square feet, 2-1s up to 1,500, 3-2s. But I mean, I will do I'm fine with either slab or basement. We have quite a mix here in Columbus. So if you only bought one or the other, you would be, kind of eliminating a lot. But yeah, I don't like to open up the walls as far as renovation goes. I like to aim for like $40,000, full cosmetic, partial mechanical. But that's the deal that we buy over and over. Purchase price could range anywhere from, we're still buying like 80s would be low side up to 130, 140. And then I don't like to go higher than a 225 ARV after repair value right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the average price? Do you know on just like the overall market?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to.
I looked it up the other day. We're like 250 range, 245. So we're buying
Okay.
below average.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's a great sweet spot for what you're doing for sure. And then what do you? I mean, Ohio to me is always been a little bit of a sleeper in the sense that it just didn't see quite the appreciation that a lot of markets have. But I mean, I see some really good stuff happening in Ohio.
Yeah.
I mean, you live there and you're on the boots on the ground and everything, but it seems like I got a lot of friends that are investing up there, and I see some good stuff happening. So just curious to see what changes you've seen in the market and kind of what you're seeing happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I tell people that I moved from Austin to Columbus, everyone gets a look of disgust and they all say, why? Why would you do that? And I think people don't really understand, like Columbus is a major metropolitan. We're the 13th largest city in the United States. And like we have 1 million population and growing rapidly. We have tons of cool stuff to do. All the big like music festivals, like everyone comes here. We have football. We have 4 seasons. I mean, it's honestly a really good place to live. I compare Columbus to Austin like 10 to 15 years ago. So hasn't sold out yet. I can say that about Austin, but we still have like tons of cool stuff to do. It's relatively affordable. That's changing very quickly, but being a cool town, it like attracts major corporations. I think we have headquarters of a couple dozen like name brand kind of companies that you've heard of that are headquartered here. And the Midwest overall is just like thriving right now because post-COVID, everything got crazy expensive. People were too close to their neighbors. Everyone from the coast, started moving inward, and we've just had like incredible growth. It is a highly, highly appreciating market. If anything, like we're actually buying outside of Columbus because our cash flow here, deals I'm buying today, I mean, we cash flow on like kind of older deals, but deals today, they're just hard to cash flow because we're almost a purely appreciation market.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's definitely shifted from that standpoint. What about the what was I going to add? As far as just the dynamics of the state, do you guys pay a state income tax there?
Yes, we do. Yeah, and I'm coming from Texas, and I'm like, shoot, but it's our sales tax is a little bit lower. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and honestly, I mean, we don't pay one, and we are real proud about that. But we make it up by, if you're a real estate owner, you're making it up with the property taxes. They're crazy here,
I had my last property that I bought in Austin. We paid $140. I held it for quite a while, and taxes just kept going up to the point that rent could not cover taxes. And I think it was a 1,200 square feet. We were paying almost $7,000 a year in property taxes, which was like insane. And I had to sell it. And so here, that same property taxes would be maybe 2, maybe. So I mean, I'm fine paying a state tax if I can pay a reasonable property tax.
Yeah, yeah. It just helps to make the deals make a lot more sense,
Yeah.
and it does get a little bit crazy here trying to make sense of it. So it helps with cash flows for sure. Well, that's cool. And then okay, what's the plan? You going to keep going? Just kind of rinse and repeat? Maybe expand outside of Columbus since numbers are a little bit more difficult there, or there are other cities in Ohio that you're seeing and thinking potential?
Yeah. Yeah. So, my wife asks all the time, like, Jessie, when is enough enough? And I'm like, well, I built the machine. We have the same lenders, the same contractors. I have one full-time employee who handles most of my management. Um, wh- I built it. Why would I stop it? So we're continuing. We're still buying. I will say those first couple years, we were buying 20, 25 a year. Now we're closer to like 10 to 12, which
Mhm.
is still like perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
And so we're buying about one a month. And the plan, like you said, I'm still looking in Columbus always, but I have expanded the radius to about an hour surrounding Columbus. So that kind of picks up some major metro, or not major, but bigger cities here. So Dayton, Ohio, Newark,
Mhm.
Marysville. It's just kind of the satellite cities of Columbus.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about management.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you're using like the same, interior stuff. A lot of that can help simplify some things, but flooring, that kind of thing. But tell me about what you're doing from a management standpoint. How are you managing all those? What softwares are you using? What are some of the challenges? And what are some of the tricks of the trade?
Yeah. Yeah. So good question. I will say once like anything, once you build it, it becomes a lot easier. Your first couple, maybe even your first dozen, you're going to be running into all new situations that you've never encountered. At this point, knock on wood, I feel like I've seen everything. And every time I say that, I see something new. So
Great.
there's always
Yeah.
something new. But for the most part, it's systematized. We use a property management software. We're on Buildium. If you're just getting started, you don't need something that advanced. You can use like a tenant cloud or an Avail. There's dozens out there. We were on tenant cloud until about 60 units, and then we've switched. And so property, like all your maintenance requests come through there, rent comes through. We do all of our leasing syndication through there. So it really is like the hub of the business. And like truly, people can message us, call us, whatever they're going to do. And I always say, hey, send it through Buildium. So
Yeah.
it's everything in one place. Makes it much easier.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And you have a record of it and you could evaluate. You probably aren't doing it necessarily, but you could like look at it and say, gosh, something's up with this unit. We have had now, X number of issues with the same deal. We might need to replace something regarding the plumbing or whatever, but you can start to see those kind of patterns. But if you're trying to keep up with it just with text messages and whatnot, that's not always going to work.
Yeah, if you're just texting from your personal phone, that's crazy. And also like the liability of just someone having your personal number and, you're dealing with people's housing and sometimes they don't like the answer. And even if it's in a signed lease, people can get mad about stuff. And so we're always protecting, no one has my phone number. No one has my address. No one has anything like that. We're, just kind of thinking about safety on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everything's kind of run through that. Talk about maintenance a little bit. Do you have somebody that is on staff or like just somebody that you use that's maybe got their own maintenance business, but they have you as one of their primary customers, or what does that look like?
So option 2, we don't have anyone on staff. We're, even with 70 units, again, because most of these are low to no maintenance.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep a full-time person busy. And so we've had the same maintenance guy for a couple years. He's fantastic. He knows our residents. He knows our units. He knows our process. He's got his company shirt. He shows up and he does the job and updates our Buildium for us with pictures. And, I pay him his invoices and we move on. that's for just like general kind of handyman stuff. And then of course we have our preferred like HVAC, plumber, electrician, roofing company. We kind of have like just preferred people we go to. I've used the same landscaper, the same pest control for 3-4 years. Like again, I am able to do this because I am not reinventing the wheel. Now, if their prices are increasing more than makes sense, or they start dropping the ball, we'll shop around. But as long as they're performing, like we keep our relationships.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, once you've built it, like you said, it just makes it a lot easier. Even when somebody does fall out like that, you have at least you're replacing one person, not the entire team.
Correct.
So that's cool. And then what about insurance rates and stuff up there? Have those been pretty regular? I mean, I talk to a lot of people across the U.S. And outside, but in particular, there's areas, right, that have just seen skyrocketing. I know I personally have a property outside of Texas that really didn't change much on insurance rates where everybody else has been seeing it, but just curious if you've seen any difference there.
No, we've actually been pretty fine on insurance. I mean, we've seen normal increases, but if you Google, before I ever even had the idea to move to Ohio, we were talking about like natural disasters, and we were like, I wonder what's the safest place from natural disasters in the whole US. Mm-hmm. So we Google it, and it was like Dayton, Ohio. And then,
oh wow,
I mean, I was living in Texas. I was like, what's Ohio? And so we move here. If you Google, it's like 8 of the top 10 safest places are in Ohio. So we don't get fires, tornadoes, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hurricanes, awesome. None of that. It's pretty safe place to own rentals.
For sure. All right. So you've mentioned that you're doing this. Are you doing this primarily? Is your partner helping you with this? How involved is she with the day-to-day on this?
So not very involved at all. She is a graphic designer. So if anyone needs graphic design work, you just let me know. Yeah. So she's freelance, and she actually was a big motivation in helping like me get the courage to go freelance, because she, when we met, was already working for herself. And so we both work for ourselves. We are able to travel, do what we want. But as far as like day to day in the business, she is more moral support, and she understands, and she'll listen to a scenario and help me kind of talk through it. I will say she has, not that I have bad morals by any means, but sometimes if you're in this day to day, it's really hard. It's like easy to get beat down, to get jaded, to start treating people like numbers. And we don't do that, but I'm saying it's easy to find.
Totally.
Yeah. And so
it's always good to bounce off like, hey, I've got that. And it's hard not to do that, especially probably with any job. But like if you're doing this, I get the same. I do the same thing with my wife. I'm like, hey, yeah, you wouldn't believe what's happening at unit number, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, yeah. So sometimes they can at least give you a different perspective.
Yeah. And she keeps me, not that I'm like trying to not be honest, but she really does. She keeps me honest about making sure that everyone's treated like a human being and that we're doing the right thing all the time. So, yeah.
For sure. Wow, that's awesome. And so you're continuing to buy, continuing to look at maybe a little bit bigger diameter. Have you thought about doing anything? I mean, you don't really need to on these DSCR loans. They're 30-year typically, right?
Fixed,
and so there's really no reason. I know a lot of folks that go, once you get the 10 conventional, they'll sometimes start pulling them into commercial type loans, but I don't know that there's really a benefit or reason to do that.
And we have some commercial as well. I was doing portfolio loans in the beginning, which I don't do anymore because they're actually kind of throttle your options, right? They kind of limit what you can do with that property. So we're not really doing that much anymore. But yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, this has been amazing. And so, and you're not doing anything else when it comes to real estate. You kind of you've gotten you mentioned having a coach. Is this a coach that you found through like RIA or what?
So my mentor back in 2021 was just someone through the Columbus real estate network. I mean, that's not like even an official organization. Just we're very tight knit and everyone kind of knows each other. So he posted something at the beginning of the year that was like, hey, I have gotten so much from my mentors in my career. I would like to pay it forward for someone, I'll mentor you for all of 2021. And he had a ton of rentals. And so he said like 40 or so people reached out, but I go above and beyond if there's something that I really want. So I put together like a little pitch deck and like, what my goals would be and what I've done so far and whatever. So he was like, yeah, of course, I was going to pick you. And so we worked together for the whole 2021. Since then, I have done quite a bit of paid education as far as wholesaling, as far as some rental management stuff. So I've had different mentors and groups over the years.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. It's always good to be able to lean on that. And you're now paying it forward as well, correct? Like you're doing some help with investors. Tell me a little bit about that and what that looks like.
Yeah. So we have a mastermind program called Rentals Made Easy, and it's a 6-month program. The idea is that we're getting you ready. We send you through a little boot camp where you're getting your lenders and your deal sources and your buy box and your entity set up, all that set up. And then we're getting you through underwriting deals, through purchasing your first one. Or, I mean, it doesn't even have to be first, but a lot of people who come in, it is their first. And through the renovation, through the refinance, and then building the system and the business behind all of it. You're not going to set all this up and do just one, right? You want to do 5, 10, 20, 100. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, if you had that at the very beginning, it would have helped, exponentially, increase how quickly you could have started buying as many deals as you are.
Keith, I wasted nearly a decade between when I bought my first accidental rental to actually figuring out how to make it scalable. And there was a good 7-8 years there and those were, oh gosh, if I would know then what I know now, I would be on a yacht somewhere because just the prices and everything. I mean, it would have been really good. So I help people skip all of that, decade of wasted time and just kind of jump in with the right plan from the beginning.
No, that's great. And I think that's important. So yeah, for the audience, if you want to maybe tell them again, like how, and does it matter? Do you have to be in Ohio?
Nope.
Can you be wherever? Tell a little bit about how people can find out more about you, Jessie.
Yeah, so it's Rentals Made Easy. You can go to unlockedrentals.com. So that's like the big company is unlockedrentals.com. And we have, I just wrote a book about the program and all this. So we have all of this information here. A little bit about me, the team, all that. So unlockedrentals.com. And then what was the other question?
If you had to be in the state or wherever, but it sounds like you can be wherever.
Yeah, anywhere in the United States. We actually have some foreign national investors as well who are Canadian and mostly Canadian investing here. You don't have to be in Ohio. A lot of our students are in Ohio, but we have people in, not every state, but, a couple dozen states across the nation. Yeah. But if it doesn't make sense, and I think what has attracted a lot of people is, you may live in California or you may live in New York and the numbers just don't make sense there. So you want to invest in the Midwest, but you don't want to start from scratch. And so that is a lot of people that we have attracted. It's like the numbers don't work where you live. Invest remotely. You have tons of people here who can help and support you.
Yeah, and you've built that relationship not only with how to find the deals out here, and things that would normally be a struggle for somebody that say lives in California or lives in Texas and is looking at the numbers there and just saying, "Gosh, I just can't get these to pencil. Where else can I do it?"
Midwest, come to the Midwest. They still work.
Yeah, that's great. Well, this has been awesome. I've enjoyed having you on the Wealth Flow. I do have a couple other questions for you if you have just another minute or two.
Yeah, go for it.
How about any advice you'd give somebody who's maybe just starting out in their investment journey?
Yeah, so this is a big one, and it is get around other people who are doing the same thing that you want to be doing. When I first started going to my local real estate meetups, I thought, like prior to that, I fell into my first 3 as a regular person, but I thought to be a real estate investor, you have to wear a fancy suit and heels and, have a private jet. And, I just thought that you had to be an asshole, all these things, honestly. And I had no perception of what a real estate investor actually is. And so when I started going to these meetups, I'm like, Michael Jackson, who bought my first deal, who has 100-something rentals, he drives a beat up pickup truck. And I'm like, okay, so you actually can just be a normal person and also very successful in this industry. And so that was such a mindset shift for me to actually see other people who were just like me doing what I wanted to do. And it changed what I thought was possible. So my advice would be go to local meetups. Even if you're investing, even if you can't invest where you live, go meet people where you live or fly out to your market and meet people there.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. And I think that isn't, any RIA that you go to, it's normal people. That's what's funny about it. It's like you do think you have a perception, especially if you haven't been to one, that it's going to be, and there's going to be some people there that are, very advanced in, investing, but they're normal people. And there's a lot of people that are kind of out there just trying to make it happen. And so just kind of being able to bounce things off them as well is kind of nice.
I think I dressed up, in some business clothes to go to the first one, and I felt so out of place. And then I was just wearing jeans and a t-shirt and felt so much better. And so truly just normal people. A lot just literally came off job sites and they're covered in drywall and they're there to learn some real estate. So you're going to meet all sorts of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How about any book recommendation? It doesn't have to be real estate related. It certainly can be. Obviously, your book, and if you want to show your book one more time as well for the audience. But then if you have a book recommendation, there you go.
So
Rentals Made Easy.
Yep. It's literally everything we've talked about step by step. There's no fluff. It is how to. I literally give you my whole plan. So it's on Amazon. You can get the paperback you see here or e-reader, a Kindle version. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be real estate, just something that's been impactful for you.
Yeah. So I actually just finished a couple months ago and it is stuck with me to the core is Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Have you read that?
I have.
Okay. So it is, the idea is that as a society, we're all working so hard and we accumulate too much wealth to the point that you die with all of this money that, maybe it goes to your kids. And he kind of talks about that as well. It's if you're doing this for your kids, give the money to your kids while you're alive so that you can enjoy it together, right? And so that we're all just working so hard and we're wasting the best years of our life where we have physical wellness, we have energy, excitement, and we're wasting those years working to be very wealthy in the years that we don't have good health and we can't go rock climbing or, go do whatever it is we want to do. So he just kind of talks about there's an equation on when you should kind of stop working. And it's a lot sooner than you think because the goal is to die with zero, to plan your life. So you accumulate, you stop at a certain point, you decumulate, you die with zero, and you enjoy your money.
No, it's a great book. I need to check it out again. It's been a long time since I listened to it on Audible, but years ago. But it's a great philosophy and certainly. So this has been awesome, Jessie. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the Wealth Flow. Great. I think we'll call it a show.
Okay, perfect.
All right, take care.
Being that you're still here, I trust you found value in this episode. I personally wish I would have known these guests and strategies when I started my wealth creation journey. Go to wealthflow.capital to subscribe to our newsletter. And as a free gift, we will send you our quarterly market report and the top 10 things to look for in an investment opportunity. Take a minute to give our show a rating and review. Help us reach 1 million professionals by subscribing and sharing this episode with someone you know who could also find value in it.